Welcome to Ask GC Anything. This week I'm answering your questions on how to train with limited time. If GCN could make their perfect team bus, what would it have inside? And is cycling detrimental to your aura health? Don't forget, if you want to get involved on next week's show, then to use the hashtag TalkBack. And if you want to be in with the chance of winning 3 months free subscription from our mates over at Zwift, then to use the hashtag AskGCNTraining with all your cycle-related questions. Get them in the comment section below. First question in from Duty Paid Rog. I rode a 3-day event with a variety of other riders, and the one frustration he had was the amount of dropping off and surging within the group. I'd be following a wheel, the person would fall off the wheel in front of by a bike and a half and surge on, meaning I had to do the same over and over, and this for 100 plus miles was, well, quite tiring. He then goes on to say, is there a good workout to help his stamina, and what does he need to do when he steps on the wheel, or steps on the pedal, sorry, to catch the wheel? So first part of your question is talk about chain gangs or in a Paceline. Now this is something that is a bit of an art, but the one tip I'd give you was that when you're coming off on the front, flick your elbow and then freewheel for about 5 seconds. This will help the rider coming to your right or left come past you a lot easier without having to race you. The last thing you want to do is create a race. That will create gaps in the group and it will make it less smooth. You want to create it nice and smooth, and then everyone's not using more energy than they really need to. So try that and let me know how you get on. But there is a perfect video for you coming up right now on how to ride in a Paceline.
The idea of a Paceline is that you spend a short time on the front of the group pushing into the wind and then move to the back, seeking shelter whilst waiting for your turn again. This means that when you are on the front, you can ride much, much harder than you would on your own because you know you have time to recover after. And the more riders there are, therefore, the more recovery you will get.
Question from Oliver Mosley. I'm okay going up hills, but struggle to put the power down as I go over the top of them. Are there any specific training sessions I can do for this? Now this is a great question because I think we're all in the same boat here, where when you're going up a climb, you think that's the effort, or that is the effort. When you go over the top, everything in your body wants to tell you just to stop pedaling, relax, and enjoy the descent. The effort's over. But this is not the case. Actually, when you're in a race and you're in a big peloton, half the peloton's on the descent and the other half is still climbing. That's when you create gaps. So actually, the hardest bit of the effort could be over the top. And the way to combat this is, if you're doing a 5-minute or even 20-minute effort, to add 10 seconds onto that. So if I'm doing a 5-minute effort flat out, I'll go to 5-minute, like stops, and then I'll count to 10, 10, 9, 8, keep putting the power out and then relax. And this in your mind will get you thinking that the effort's not over until you're right over the bottom of the climb or right over onto the descent. And you can do this when you're out on the road too. So when you're climbing, wait, keep the effort going until you're right over the top, until you got the speed, until you're on the wheel before you can relax and chill out. So try that, let me know how you get on in the comment section below, because I'll be really interested to know how you find it. The winner of this week's Zwift question is Jonathan Blazeviek. So you've got 3 months free subscription from Zwift coming right over to you. So make sure you get in contact on Facebook to get that over to you. Now you've got a great question, and this is it. What is the best training to prepare for track races if you're not near a velodrome? I'm focusing on the individual pursuit and the omnium. Well, track events are very high intensity, so that's where you really want to focus on. And as always, we send this question over to Zwift and they come back with an answer. So with the wide range of disciplines involved in the omnium, a rider really needs to be focusing on the short, high-powered efforts right through to the longer steady-state aerobic ones. The first key point though in training for a track is the number of high-intensity sessions performed on each week. So this is something quite difficult, but try and aim for 2 to 3 high-intensity sessions each week. The remaining time then is performed at very low intensity or aerobic level. Avoid the medium intensity efforts such as the long tempo or sweet spot work, which you would normally do if you were riding on the road. And then for the specific training events, pursuiting is an aerobic event. So for this, we want to target your VO2 and develop this in its full potential. And this is achieved by the long volumes of zone 5 intervals. So zone 5 is the level, your threshold, so your threshold level. anywhere between 106% and 120% of your threshold value. And then complete these intervals 3 to 8 minutes in duration, with the recovery period the same as the work period. So if you're doing a 3-minute effort, make sure you're having a 3-minute recovery after. As the name suggests though, in training we need to implement intervals that produce the large amounts of lactate, because that's where you'll be working in. Each subsequent interval increases the level of lactate because the body hasn't had time to process the lactate from the previous effort. And there is where the popular sessions of 40 to 20s and 30 to 15s are really effective. Be sure to let me know how you get on and put it in the comment section below. I'll be very interested to know how you get on in those sessions, because, well, they don't sound easy. Question from Benjamin Kettlebera. I was just wondering what happened to bikes that you buy for content, like the cheap bike, the soup bike, etc., etc. Do the crew get them? Do we get them? We don't get them. The crew don't get them. We actually keep them. And I think they're for like historical value. So, you know, in a couple of years we can look back and see that bike that we made a video about all those 5 years ago. So yeah, question is, we keep them. Next question comes in from S. Porchette. One commentator of the Giro claimed that sitting on the top tube of a high-end carbon frame bicycle is detrimental to the frame. I thought I've heard otherwise on this channel. What gives? Good question. I've actually been told by bike manufacturers not to sit on the top tube as well. But one thing is, when the pros are descending, they sit on that top tube, it looks like they're just full sitting on the top tube. This isn't actually the case. It's merely resting on them. So you're still on the pedals, but you're just resting on the top tube, because it can get quite comfortable if you're full sitting on them. So you're not sitting on the top tube with dead weight, as it were. And remember, those pros are like super light. You know, they don't weigh a lot, so they're not gonna, you know, jump and sit on it. It's more just kind of resting. So that's why they do it, and that's why the bikes don't break. Or I've never heard of a pro breaking a bike by sitting on their top tube. Question in from James Turner. If I reduce my crank length by 2 centimeters, do I increase my saddle height by the same 2 centimeters? Yes, you do. So what you want to do is keep the same measurement between your bottom of your pedal stroke to the saddle. So if you increase your crank, then you need to like adapt your saddle height accordingly. You want to keep the same measurement in between all the time, unless you do want to increase your saddle height, for example. We got a question from Paul Dufty. How come the GCN presenters don't wear cycling gloves? It's because we're hardcore. No, it's not. I think it's just because it's more comfortable. I personally prefer riding with no gloves, but if I'm racing, I definitely would use cycling gloves, because there's more of a chance of you falling off, basically, especially if I'm racing. Cue the crashes. Yeah, so yeah, if you want to save your hands, wear gloves. If you're like the GCN presenters and don't care about your hands, don't wear gloves. Now, I was on the GCN Instagram and I asked you to send in your questions, and many of you did, so here are a few. Richie on Instagram, when does the Tour de France start? The Tour de France starts at the beginning of July, on the 6th of July to be precise, and I can't wait. I've done 3 weeks of the Giro, absolutely loved it, looking forward to seeing everyone at the Tour this year, and it's going to be spicy. I cannot wait, and I bet you can't too, so make sure you tune in on the 6th of July. We've got a question from Carrick Hewing. Do a velodrome video. Watch this space. Is that just, am I giving away the secret? Shh, sorry. Yeah, watch this space. We've got one in from Pranavert. All right, that's not how you say it, but I'm gonna put it on screen now so you can understand how hard it is to pronounce this name. What routine should I follow for ultra endurance? I have no idea. I've never done an ultra endurance event, but this man does. Cue the video of Mark Beaumont and Cy.
Like, it's one thing doing a mega day, it's another thing waking up after a few hours sleep and then doing it again, again. So whether it's a Land's End John O'Groats or it's a Transcon or, you know, something even bigger, you know, it's all about not just how good you are in any given day, but how quickly can you recover.
Question from Gemma Adam. Who is your favourite pro cyclist of all time? Tom Boonen. I mean, the guy is unreal. I just want to show you this picture, and this picture says it all. Him on Paris-Roubaix just looking cool, calm and collected and putting out like 500 watts. Who doesn't love that? So I'm going to say Tom Boonen. We got a question from Dominic. Will be off the bike for 2 months. What exercises should I do in order to not lose fitness? Run, walk, swim. So do some cardiovascular exercises to keep the weight off maybe. And if you want to get in the gym, do that. Basically anything that raises your heart rate up. I personally would say do some pre-breakfast runs or something like that. That's what I do. Try it. Let me know how it goes. We got one from Volkan Kilikaya. I gave it my best shot. What is your favorite aero bike or climb bike? I'm glad you asked this question because I actually asked the pros this question, and so I'm hoping that's going to be on the channel coming soon, so watch out for that. A lot of pros, I'm not going to tell you this, I shouldn't actually tell you this, but a lot of pros went for climbing, just putting it out there. I personally am going to go for aero. Who doesn't want to go fast all the time? You know, I mean, faster's better, faster's cooler, yeah? Yeah, I'm guessing you agree with me there. Question from Dan931. Does cycling negatively impact one's oral health? Well, the answer is, well, yes, it can do. You know, with sports nutrition, gels, etc., there's a lot of sugar. It's like sucking on syrup, I guess, and that is what's going to eat away at your teeth. So when you do finish a ride, make sure you grab a bottle of water and just swirl it around in your mouth, and then either drink it or spit it out. But I would say do that at the end of a race, especially when you've had lots of gels. I mean, when I was asking the pros there, they were having 6 to 8 gels during a stage race, and if you're having that for 3 weeks a day, that's not gonna help your teeth at all. So make sure you take a swig of water and try and swirl it around, and then remember to brush your teeth. I mean, I shouldn't really be saying that, but twice a day, please. Thanks, guys. Right, that's it for this week's Ask GCN Anything. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you have too. Make sure you give it a big thumbs up. And don't forget, if you want to get involved on next week's show, then to use the hashtag TalkBack. And if you're hungry for a bit of Zwift action and you want 3 months free subscription from our mates over at Zwift, then to use the hashtag AskGCNTraining, but make sure they're training related questions, because as always we send those off to Zwift and they give their professional advice. If you want to see some more Ask, or even a video that Ollie did, retro, it's a really cool video, why don't you check that out on screen now. And don't forget, if you want to get involved in the shop, get one of these really cool branded t-shirts, or I'm wearing a jumper this time, why don't you click on screen now.